Well, hello, I'm from Polaris, and I want to talk about why we're building it and the design choices behind it. So, when you analyze the existing decentralized DeFi stablecoin landscape, you realize that the existing solutions fail to scale. And Polaris is designed to address exactly that problem. And we innovate across 3 different layers: the collateral layer, the stablecoin layer, and the governance layer. Now, at the core of Polaris sits a bonding curve. And in the bonding curve, we have ETH that enters and mints a pETH asset. And with this bonding curve, what we can achieve is an asset that is tightly correlated to the ETH price, but importantly, with adoption, appreciates in value. So in other words, what this means is the more pETH is being used, the higher its value becomes versus ETH. Now, furthermore, the bonding curve serves as the primary liquidity layer for this asset, and it charges swap fees, which is one of the revenue sources of the protocol. So every time there's a trade, a swap fee enters. And what do we do with this swap fee? Well, we burn it. So all the swap fees are burned, and what does it mean for pETH to be burned on the bonding curve? It means that this part of the supply can never enter back into the market, and it gives us a floor price for the pETH, and therefore it's a viable collateral to be used in DeFi. Now, additionally, this part of the reserve, which now doesn't need and is not anymore needed, is free to be used as yield within the ecosystem. So what does this mean if you take a step back? The bonding curve that mints pETH versus ETH is a viable alternative to Ethereum staking. Now, once the collateral layer is in place, we can build our DeFi tools on top of it. And the first one is pUSD. Now, pUSD is a CDP-style system, but with a couple of innovations that help it scale. The first one being direct minting and redemptions, such that the supply can respond to market forces directly, rather than just simple borrower demand. Now, the second thing is that the minting and redemptions, they also provide a revenue source. So CDP holders can be looked at as decentralized stablecoin issuers rather than just simple borrowers. And additionally, since the bonding curve can pay yield, we can incentivize the debt. But pUSD is only the first expression of the system. We can, once the reserve layer is in place, we can expand the system to also build p-Swiss franc or p-gold. And therefore, we look at Polaris rather as a stablecoin operating system rather than just a simple stablecoin. Now, in this context, it's important to highlight another feature, which is that because Polaris can pay a yield to the CDP system, and we have automatic set interest rates, it is possible for the system to accommodate negative interest rates. And the way this works is if the yield is larger than the borrowing rate, you can achieve an effective negative interest rate. And this is especially relevant if you think of assets such as p-gold and pUSD. Now, another innovation that enters is on the Polar governance layer. So how does it interlock with the system? So the Polar token can only be created via the burn mechanism, which is the same burn mechanism that was used in the swap fees. Now, so what does this mean? For every pETH that is burned, users can mint Polar, and this happens via a Dutch auction. Now, this Dutch auction, so as the price decreases of the Dutch auction, the conversion becomes more and more attractive until somebody takes it and the price spikes back up. So therefore, Polar can only be made with burning pETH. So what does this mean for the system? It means that minting of Polar and the issuance of Polar is directly aligned with the ecosystem health because it improves the collateral base, rises the floor price, and releases yield into the system. Now, once there's yield, where should it go? And this is where stewardship comes in. So Polar votes and maintains a whitelist of protocols and smart contracts that are eligible to receive yield from the bonding curve. And this is not restricted to only receive yield from, to Polaris native ecosystems, but rather to the larger overall ecosystem. So in this way, Polar can vote to distribute yield to the products that drive the biggest demand and the biggest growth for the pETH ecosystem. Now, this is not just theory. Where do we stand in development? It's available on testnet, and you can try it out. It is a gated testnet, so you do have to contact me or the team, but I'm happy to set it up. So what emerges out of all of this? Well, first, a pETH asset which rivals Ethereum staking for long-term Ethereum holders. Second, scalable decentralized stablecoins built on that reserve layer. And third, a stewardship ecosystem that continuously distributes value to ecosystem expansion. So Polaris is not just a simple stablecoin, but rather a broader reserve-centered architecture for DeFi. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so I start. So the bonding curve is a core thesis for the yield, right? For the whole.
Yeah, so it's only one component because if you think of it, the CDP system is still a CDP system. So the bonding curve yield can give a bonus to that, right? So at the base layer, the CDP system still has borrowers that pay interest rate. So the pETH layer gives a boost to this.
Okay, okay. So the problem with market with like low volatility, for example, or like sideways market, just influence this element.
Right.
Okay, so you just go.
So the bonding curve component makes the interest rate competitive, right? It gives you an edge.
Or
it's not the sole.
Or if the market is not really great for you, it just makes it less competitive, but not completely.
Well, if the market is not great, typically there's an overall downturn, right?
Yeah.
So the interest rates will be low everywhere, but we still have an edge. So it's kind of that thesis.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
What oracles are you using in the system? I guess you have to price the collateral, which is pETH, right?
Right. So the bonding curve doesn't need an oracle, but the stablecoins do. And on pUSD, we use a medianizer of 3 oracles. On pGold, you will need to set it up. So, I mean, we're still developing for pGold the oracle. And for each CDP, it's like each CDP system, you will have to have your own oracle.
So you price ETH with the medianizer and then pETH to ETH with the bonding curve.
Sorry, what?
To price pETH, you use the bonding curve to price pETH to ETH.
Yes. So, no, to price pETH to ETH, you don't need an oracle. What you need is the oracle for pUSD, and for that you need to multiply the oracle with the bonding curve price. If that's,
okay.
That's what you mean.
That's what
yes. Okay.
Other one, do CDPs kind of choose their interest rates, or how are they set now?
No, they're set autonomously. So that is, it's actually a novel approach because we do have this direct minting and redemptions. We can use the minting volume and redemption volume on chain to control the interest rate based on market forces. So this is one of the novel approaches because we have this minting and redemption volume. So it's fully autonomously.
Are you engaging market makers or somebody to do the minting and redemption, or are you just saying whoever?
It's an arbitrage operation. So if there's a DPEG on the stablecoin, up or down, this is a arbitrage operation. Anybody can call it. It's fully permissionless. It actually will be MEV territory. So MEV territory an arbitrager can mint if it's profitable.
Yeah, that's what they said about Terra and some other like algo stablecoins. There's an arbitrage, but sometimes it doesn't work that way.
Why you say this is an algo stablecoin?
Huh?
Wait, sorry.
It seems like what you're saying is that everything is due to the bonding curve, right?
Yes.
That's holding everything together.
Yes.
But I feel like bonding curves can still be manipulated.
So the bonding curve that we use uses a very narrow, shallow, so it's concave, right? It uses a power law with an exponent, and I'm happy to go into more detail because I don't think we'll be able to cover it like here, but it's a concave bonding curve, right? So it's not an exponential or something. So so rather it's designed to be exactly competitive to liquid staking, meaning that if you look at the price chart here, for example, like the price chart here, the advantage that you get from pETH over pUSD over normal ETH is it just outcompetes like the liquid staking rate. So you're talking about like 5, 6, 7% per year. So it's a very narrow, because you can tune the bonding curve, right? The bonding curve can be tuned via this beta parameter. So it's not it's very tightly coupled to ETH. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. I mean, bonding curves work until you have times of high volatility and people just want to unbond. So,
but that's why we have the floor price, right? Like the floor price is a continuously ratcheting up of your collateral base. So any person that enters into the bonding curve, like we can define a maximum loss that he will have even if the system fully unwinds. So if you enter into the bonding curve and you know the floor price is, let's say, at 75%, like you know that even if Polaris fully unwinds, you will still have this exit value because of the floor price. I mean, so the bonding curve is designed to be very secure, and yeah, so it's not a system that can implode. Like by construction, it cannot, unless there's smart contract. I mean, there's smart contract risks, right? But the smart contract is designed such that it can fully unwind and still give back value to the user.
What prevents earlier pETH adopters from dumping into the bonding curve? And
so if you're an early adopter of pETH and the bonding curve expanded, like you're free to sell, right? But the thing is that because of the way the bonding curve is constructed, the amount of liquidity it has to get out is extremely large, and it's because of the concave curve of the curve. So I mean, this is vital, right? So the pETH is constructed as a safe collateral with a very shallow curve to avoid exactly these kind of things. So the appreciation rate is comparable to liquid staking on purpose to provide an alternative to liquid staking.
Is Polaris liquidity free?
No. It's not. I mean, I just showed you that we're innovating on 3 different layers. So even though there's an overlap on some of the team members, I think the innovation is quite significant.